the ubiquitous addict, Nathan. It's R to the E to the C to the O to the V to the E to the R to the Y. It's recovery month. And I'm doing this, whereby which I'm clawing back the years, in case you've missed this. I hope you haven't. Clawing back the years from 91 through to 2017 were the years I was using substances. And then we'll worry about what we do for the last 3 after that. I'll think of something imaginative and amazing. Grab hold of the old flux capacitor and let's zooch back in time to 1998. The Irish Good Friday Agreement. Anyone of my generation or previous to that, this was obviously very much prevalent in their lives and in the memory of my youth, and thankfully both parties come to some sort of agreement after years of not being in a very good place, really. Yeah, less said about that the better, really. I've not got any opinion either way on that. Bill Clinton come up with the famous statement, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." I think we all remember that, and the nonsense that came out after it. When he did, didn't he? He clearly did. France held and won the World Cup, and England went out. Think of the other team. It's not Germany. It's Argentina. How do we go out? You guessed it. Penalties. Google went live. Wasn't invented, but it was invented previous to that, but went live. Thank God, or this entire list wouldn't exist, because I think we all use Google for pretty much anything now. We've replaced the brain. That doesn't need to exist. Replace the memory and knowledge with Google. Far easier. The X-Files going strong. I was never really into the X-Files. I had a friend of mine back in the day who was obsessed with the character that Gillian Anderson played. Scully, I believe, was her name. I went a bit too far. Started collecting the figures and stuff. Yeah, that was my phone. That was. And Chumbawamba come out with their song Tub Thumping, and the lyrics, as a man addicted to alcohol, will stay with me for a long time. I don't like the song, but there it is. So after that sketchy, flimsy run over 1998, what have I been doing today? So today, doing the voluntary, not voluntary, it's unpaid work. But got up in the morning, got up early. I have to get up early for this thing, because I have to make the journey to jump on the party wagon to get this whole thing started. So I got up early, did my slow hot beverage thing. Made the thing slowly, stirred it slowly, took time just to think about nothing else except making that beverage. It's a form of mindfulness, I suppose. It works for me, and I found that I found also that getting up earlier, I actually feel better. If I lay in, I feel worse. The day seems to be compressed. So you feel like you've got less time. You create the illusion of having to rush around, and it just affords that time. You know, the sun's coming up and the birds are singing, and you're making this thing. Okay, I don't feel like $1 million in the morning. I mean, who does? Least of all me. The limbs are aching. I mean, you know, I get out of bed like bloody Frankenstein. I have to sort of roll onto one side, hit the floor like a plank, and then sort of, you know, hobble into the bottom slowly. The old machine starts going, and off I go. But I do feel better if I wake up early, and you know, just. I think I like that time of the morning, because there's this empty-headedness that comes with getting up early. I mean, you just can't really, the brain's just not ready to think about anything, so you sort of walk around in an accidental state of Zen meditation because you're just there, you know. making your tea and eating your Lucky Charms since the 90s. Lucky Charms and an episode of Rugrats. So did that, and then always exciting because you never know what you're going to get. Unpaid work is a bit like life. You pitch up and you see what you're given. Luckily, my spiritual brother Rio was there. Always a bit better when you see Rio. Got a lot in common with the guy, and he's just easy to get on with. We had a very long conversation about the importance of water, biologically, mentally, spiritually, and symbolically over the ages. And that may, to some, sound like torture, but we enjoyed the conversation. We both got a lot from it. And turning the tap on, I shall be having, I like my bath. I'll be in my smellies with my Krishna flute music playing and doing all that jazz tonight. I love all that. We'll be having some of that tonight, Friday as well. So one thing I noted with this unpaid work, I'm glad about it really, because it's given, one thing that's really, really important is structure for me. I think for anyone in this pickle, in this hootenanny, in this level of this hullabaloo that I've found myself in, structure is really important. And structure to the day, structure to your week. The reason you hear the people who are far wiser and have been in this game far longer than I, this wet behind the ears character you see before you, always bang on about structure, quite right, because without it I'd be lost. Structure to the week, structure to the day, things to do, rocks in the diary, they're there, that's what you need to do, and it doesn't give you time to be alone with your own thoughts. Definitely mulling away and having thoughts you really probably shouldn't have, but have simultaneously convinced yourself it's the right course of action. So Mondays and Fridays. So this was a brilliant thing when I first came out of rehab. Straight away went into Aspire, which is fantastic. I mean, it's just like a safety net thing, really. They give you a project to do. You get to continue the process of doing check-ins, sharing your experiences, your day, your feelings, using the language of recovery still. Massively important. And again, a couple of days in the week, know where you're going, know what you're doing, speaking to the right people. And then after that, interpersonals, again, structure, something to do, somewhere to go, talking to the right people, keep doing the right things will happen. As someone once said to me, Earl was his name, he's a lovely man. And that's true. And then, onto this, doing my volunteering, structure again, this, structure, things to do, structure. Particularly for me, not particularly for me, but I've worked since I left school. I've never been out of work, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just the way my life panned out. So I'm used to having the rhythm of life, that going on. What's happening next. I don't think it was any coincidence actually when that stopped. My drinking went from crazy insane to boy, you're gonna die. So what we did today was we went an unusual one. So we usually do like churchyards and stuff, which I love. I love seeing all the old historical religious sites. But we went to paint someone's house today, who is incapable of painting it themselves. Which leads on to my second great truth of recovery: altruism. Massive, helping someone out, two-way street. It's not a selfless act by any means, because it's like a cyclical. You chuck it out, comes back out the other way, and back into your own being in a really good way. And unpaid work and volunteering is all about that. So it's all killing two birds with one stone. Structure, altruism, done. Two birds with one stone almost. And it's very humbling. Obviously, in a previous incarnation, I was dealing with people predominantly with a lot of money and surrounded by lots of material things, and you get just to think, oh, this is the way it is and should be, and you forget there's a whole big wide world out there, and I'm enjoying very much so helping helping out, and I don't see it as a chore. I'm getting a tremendous amount out of that. They get something out of it. It makes me feel good, so it's not a selfless act, you know. And today was a good day, painting and giving something back. It's good. Go and do something. Hit himself in the face. Go and do something good for someone. Everyone wins. We did quite a good job. We had a laugh while we were doing it as well. You know, you have a bit of banter there. It's not a work environment I've been used to. I really enjoy it. Bit of banter. Stop for a builder's cup of tea and all that business. In between, you know, incredibly deep conversations with the Rio Meister about all things time, space, life, and the fragility of reality, and everything in between. So that was that, and finished up, and all jumped into the party wagon, and back we went. And then I thought I'll stop in town. I'll stop in town for a coffee. Never thought those words would leave my lips. Stopped in town for a coffee, and as I was walking back, I deliberately just got dropped off from where they picked me up, so I have a bit of a walk to digest what's gone on during the day. And I was walking back, and there were some families coming back, students and their families, graduated from something or other. They had the mortarboards on and the gowns. My partner has been festooned in such garb. I have never had the pleasure and never achieved that higher level of education. University of life, mate, and all that old nonsense. But there they were, their families, magnificently dressed. There was one guy had a kilt on with the sporran, and you know, he was the most Scottish man I've ever seen. Huge white beard, fantastic looking man, and you had all these people. Clearly, there was a tingle of achievement. There was a tingle of excitement, and of this being a notable moment in all these people's lives. It was oozing, it was bouncing like colour from every one of them, and lapping up against the buildings of the street. And it was lovely to walk past. And as I walked past this, in the town there was a young lady playing the violin. I love the sound of the violin. There is a melancholia yet joy within the sound of a violin that I love. I love it, and that's it. But as I was going through this situation, I had what I call the feeling, and it's only a feeling I've had since I had it the first time when I was halfway through rehab, and I've had it a couple of times since. Maybe like, I don't know, eight times. We'll say 8 because it's my lucky number. 8 times, and it's the 8th. And it's that. Well, it's a sense of being totally there in that moment, of being slightly overwhelmed, not in a bad way. And the reality is, words are by their nature clumsy. They are a series of symbols and sounds that attempt to convey what the person is feeling or going through. They're really no better than the chirps of a bird when you think about it. Just incredibly more complicated. But in this instance, those tools cannot explain that feeling. It is, as I know it, just the feeling. Those who have had it will know what I'm on about. Those who have not had it will know it when they get it. I can assure you of that. I'm not mad. And that feeling there, that's a payoff. That's a recovery payoff, if ever there was one. It is beyond words. Even words like sublime don't do it justice. And as I said, I'm not mad. When you get it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So that's pretty much it for me today. I am looking forward to an evening. I shall look forward to my bath and spending some time with my woman, which I'm very much looking forward to. I hope you have a pleasant evening and have a wonderful time, and reminisce over A, the importance of water, and B, what that feeling may be if you haven't had it yet. And I will just say, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to be looking through this, not the drugs thing I was looking through yesterday. This is Super Breaks for the festive short breaks. And bloody hell, after this year, do I need a break? I haven't had one in a while, and so does my other half. So I shall be looking through that and seeing if there's anything of note. In the meantime, remember, no fear, no hate, no envy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.